Uh, so, hello everyone. Welcome to the next live session of Pytest Automation Framework, where we are creating automation framework from the scratch. So, before we begin, I would just want to apologize for tomorrow. Sorry for yesterday, as the live stream was ended abruptly due to some internet issue. And even after multiple attempts, I wasn't able to continue the session. So today I will continue exactly from the place where we left off. So let's start with the framework that we were creating yesterday. And let me share my VS Code. So this was the screenshot file that we were trying to create yesterday to capture the screenshots. Now we already had seen the basic detail of the code, but let's see what was wrong with this code that we were not able to capture the screenshots for failed testers. So one thing that we did was that we copied the code from loader.py into screenshot.py. Obviously both are generic, but both files are capturing different kinds of data. So when we copied loader.py into screenshot.py, there are many things that need to be changed and which we fail to realize, and because of that we were not able to capture the screenshots. No. So let's see the first line. So just a minute. Import.js. Is it capturing? Let me confirm here. Recording on. Yeah. So as I already said that I had copy pasted the loader.py into screenshot.py. So in the first issue in our code is this line. Here we are checking lots if lots folder exists or not. But our destination folder is screenshots. So this is the first issue in our code that we need to change, and we will rename it to screenshots. Uh, and now it makes more sense that we are checking whether the screenshots folder exists or not. If it does not exist, then create a folder. Now coming to the next line, time underscore stamp. Why do we need this line? So this line is is used to help us in realizing which screenshot represent which action. Now, so if we once our screenshot is generated, it will be in the format like screenshot underscore date, whatever date today it's like 25th of July. So sorry, 2507, and then time whatever it is like it is 6 p.m. dot png. So if we have 10 screenshots, then all the 10 screenshots will be captured according to a timestamp instead of just any generic name, and this will help us in during debugging. We can easily see that at which time the automation script failed. Now coming to the third line, here we are creating the file name of the screenshots. So instead of just creating a screenshot with any generic name like this, we are trying to create our screenshot with a name of the module which failed. Okay, so we are using it in test login dot py. So we once the test case fail, it will generate the test name. Test name will be test underscore login, and then it will just add the timestamp. So again, this is used to make our debugging easier. When our automation script fail while going through the screenshot folder, we can easily see that our test login failed at this particular time. Now, if there are 100 screenshots and there is no proper name, then it will be a bit difficult to check which module actually failed. Uh, so this line is making that task easier. Now coming to the next line, file underscore path is equal to os dot path screenshots from a file path. So here the issue is that we are trying os dot path, which is not a function, it is module, and inside that module there are many functions. So instead of just os dot path, we need here os dot path dot join. No. And then our code will look like this. So if we thought about join function, what exactly join is doing? So it is joining the different parts of the path in our operating system in an independent way. So like instead of writing slash slash that we usually write, now Python builds the correct path for Windows, Linux or Mac, whichever operating system we are using. Now, and so when the screenshot is generated, it becomes something like screenshots slash our file name which I give example. Suppose this is our screenshot that was generated. So our screenshot is generated in the screenshot folder, and overall the file path looks like this. Now here one more issue is that we are using a file name to generate the name of the screenshot, but here we are using file path, which is again an issue, and here we have to use the file name. Okay. And due to which our path becomes something like this. Now this is the last line that we are writing, and with this we are simply trying to tell Selenium to save the screenshot. Now, since our file path already contains the complete address, so Selenium knows where to save the image, and finally we are returning the path. Okay, and returning the path is useful later, because if we want load or attach the screenshot to a report, we already know where to save it. So wherever we are going to use the capture dot screenshot, we can easily capture the data that is it is sending, and we can use it to generate the screenshot for that particular test module. Yeah. So after fixing all these issues, our code looks something like this. Now, let me beautify the code, add some proper space. So yeah, it looks like this. Now, if we run this code, it will again not generate the screenshot because there is one. Let me check. So now we can see our screenshot folder is created, and it is capturing the screenshot of the failed test case. Now, yesterday we had added an assertion for checking the login if the login is working or not. Okay. So far we are just adding the screenshot. We are not adding any pass or fail. Now, now suppose we want to capture the screenshots. Now, so we have to manually write this line in every test file. Okay. This particular line. Now, if we have here 500 test cases, so do we really need to write the 500 times? Probably not. That's not a good approach. Now, so maybe the better approach will be if Pytest automatically captured a screenshot where a test failed. Now, and that's where the concept of hooks come. So instead of writing this line manually in every test case, we can just write hooks, and with the help of hooks, whichever test case is failed, it will capture that. So what exactly hooks do? Hooks is basically kind of event listener. When a particular event happens inside the PyTest, it gives us an opportunity to run our own code. For example, like before a test starts, after a test finishes, or before collecting test cases, after executing the test cases, or when a test pass, test fails. These are kinds of scenarios that we can implement using the hooks. And Pytest provides us hooks for all these events that I shared. Now today we will use one of the most commonly used hooks, that is the Pytest underscore run underscore make report. Okay, just a minute. Let me type the name. So as the name suggests, we can see from the name itself, this hook is triggered when Pytest prepares the test execution report. Now, this means that after every test execution, Pytest call this hook. Now, and we will use that moment to check if our test is passed or failed. Suppose if my test failed. Now, if my test is failed, then yes, capture the screenshot. If my test is passed, then skip the screenshot. Now why we are just capturing the pass failed test is because the number of test pass will be obviously very high, and capturing those screenshots does not make sense. that will just add redundant consume space. So instead of capturing all the screenshots, we just try to capture the test stage that are failed so that we can debug easily. Uh, and hence, when we start with hooks, with the help of hooks, we write some code in our prompt test.py, uh, and with this we can easily create the screenshots for all the failed case instead of just manually writing in every file that we have created in our framework. So let's write some hook so that we can capture the screenshot for failed tests. So I will hear from. So first import the screenshot .py code. Now, so from utils dot screenshots import capture screenshot. I think that's the name of the module that we had. Yeah, capture screenshot feature. Now we once we imported our file, next we have to write the hook. So the syntax for writing the hook is like pytest.hook hook impl. Uh, So instead of memorizing the whole syntax, whole code line by line, it's important to realize the purpose that is serving in our automation framework. But yeah, we should also be aware with the general syntax of writing the hooks in our framework. So once we define our hood, then we are trying to create a hood module. Now, and don't worry if this looks new. Now, you don't have to memorize it. Just remember that this function is automatically called by Pytest after every test execution. And inside the hood, we first allow the Pytest to complete its own word. Now, and then we will create the execution result. Right. So here we are letting the Pytest to first complete the execution, and then we will check if the test case is pass or fail. So suppose we want to capture the report screenshot only for failed screenshots. So it will be report is equal to. Now here we are checking the result status if the result is pass or fail. Now, so here we are using simple if else condition. If our report is passed, sorry, failed. Now, if our report is failed and sorry, our report is stored and our report status is failed. Report dot status report dot and report is failed. In that case, invoke the driver. So these are just some generic hook detail. Now we will see the meaning of this codes. Just a minute. No. Okay. Let me. So here we have written it. Capture one input is for failed driver items. So when let's make some intentional change. Let's say the code. Yeah. So let's change the code to ensure our test case failed intentionally. So now let's see if the screenshot is. It is showing some error for this particular line. So it's so let's run the code and see if the test case is capturing the failed screenshot or not. Uh, There's again some issue test case. Test code attribute is known as false. Acha, oh, false. paste. So we are trying to run paste report has no attribute as false. So let me paste report. Put IMPL hook wrapper is equal to 2 here make report item underscore call outcome dot get result if report dot we are capturing for failed tests and I was using false so that's why it was not working. Now let's try with failed uh, and let's see if it is capturing the screenshots of failed tests in this time or not. Yeah, one screenshot is captured. So now we can see our screenshot for failed test cases is captured, uh, and we can also see the result. I am not sure why age is not captured. Maybe there is some rendering issue. But in Chrome, we can see our test case failed on the login page, and it failed because we had intentionally changed the password to admin123. Now suppose we change it to admin. Sorry. Change it back to admin123 and we remove the condition of capturing the screenshots for only failed case. So let's see what happened in that scenario. So now as we have removed the failed condition, so it is capturing the screenshots of past also. So we don't need screenshots for every test that are even passed. Uh, so that's why we add the condition of capturing only when the our test case is failed. Uh, so let's uh, now coming back to our code. So here we are first importing our screenshot file and then we are creating Pytest hook. Now and as I already told you, the name suggests that this hook should be triggered when Pytest is preparing the test execution report. Now, this means that after every test execution, Pytest call this report. So after test underscore login.py is executed, Pytest will call this hook to check if the test case is passed or failed. Now, since we are prioritizing capturing the screenshot for failed, so it will check if the test case is failed or not. Now, if the test case is failed, then yes, capture the screenshots automatically. Now, so with these two lines, we are creating our hook. Now, and inside the hook, we are first allowing the Pytest to complete its execution. Like we are allowing the Pytest to complete the execution, which is basically this part. No, this part. So once that is completed, then simply check if report dot when is equal to call and report dot failed. So in this if condition, we are asking two questions: is the actual is this like actual test execution phase, and if the test case failed. This is a simple condition to check. No. And if these both conditions are true, then we are retrieving the driver instance. This is the standard syntax. Um, and since our driver fixer already exists, no, so we can access it here. And finally, if driver is found, then capture the screenshot driver underscore item dot name. Now let me remove this. Okay, so we can see we did not write our screenshot file in either in test case file or page file, but still screenshot was captured after the test case was failed. So this is the benefit of using the hook, as Pytest automatically handle everything for us. No. And this help us our test case structure clean, and also help us in making the function reusable for throughout the framework. No. So this was like common standard code that we use for capturing these screenshots. Now let's run the code once again and let's analyze something. So now once our execution start and we are on the login page, we can see that we have been here on this page for some seconds before username and password is being entered. So yeah, so let's close this. So we have seen that we already landed on the web page, but we still stayed for some we wait for some seconds before our username and password was been entered, and the reason was this code time.sleep 15. And even after our login was completed, we still stay on the login page for 5 seconds. So the culprit is this line of code. So we are asking to stay like wait for 15 seconds before entering the username. So once you open the web page, then wait for 15 seconds, and then if the username is found, enter the username. If password is found, enter the password, and so on. Obviously, since we had started the framework from scratch, so that's why we use the time.sleep. But this is not the best practice, because as the automation grows and we keep on adding time.sleep, then it will increase the wait time very long. Now let's replace it with weights provided by the Pytest. Now before we replace this time.sleep with weights, let's understand what exactly is weights and why they have been used. So let me go to edge. let's reset it. Wait. Yeah. Now, why do we need waits when we already have a time.sleep? Uh, Now, suppose we are on a e-commerce website like Flipkart, Amazon, or any other website. For now, let's take example of Flipkart button. Now we click on the login button. No. So as soon as we click the login button, does the login page appear instantly? Nope. It takes at least 1 second or some microsecond before it is loaded. Sometimes it might be 3 seconds also. No. And if our internet is slow, then it might take even 5 seconds or 10 seconds. No. Now let's suppose we write our automation framework for Pytest for using Pytest for logging into the Flipkart. So each time if Selenium tries to immediately find the login fields like username or password, then it might fail because sometimes the login page may take 1 second, sometimes it may take 3 seconds or 5 seconds, and our test execution script will fail. No, and script will fail not because our application is broken, but because Selenium was faster than the browser, and that is why the waits exist. Okay, we may already have heard this term in Selenium. Now, so waits basically tells the Selenium its genuine meaning. Now, which is like wait, don't rush. Now, don't rush. Wait until the wait until the application is ready. So when we are using waits while running the script for Flipkart, so it is telling the Selenium to please don't decide the test pass or fail so soon. Wait for the username, wait for the password to appear, and then try to enter the detail. And if it is not, then decide if the test is passed or failed. Huh. Now there are different kinds of waits in Selenium. One one of them we already see, time.sleep. Now this is very simple. We just have to import time and use the time.sleep, and whatever the time we want to put as a waiting time, we just have to mention here in seconds, like if it is 5 then 5 10 or some. No. And if we write here 5 seconds, then we are telling the that means we are telling the Python to buy pause everything for exactly 10 seconds, which we exactly did here. No, pause everything for 15 seconds. So even though we had landed on the website, still we pause for 15 seconds. And that's like one of the major drawback, that even though our username and password was visible, we could log in, but we still waited because we had mentioned here time.sleep. So it when we are using time.sleep, it does not matter whether the login fields and password field appear in 1 second, 2 seconds, 5 seconds, or 10 seconds. No, it will just check if it will wait for 15 seconds. After 15 seconds, if the username and password is not visible or Selenium is not able to enter data into it, the test case will fail. Yeah. So here the problem is that we are using time.sleep with 15 seconds. Now, if our web page is suppose loaded in 5 seconds, then we are wasting our 10 seconds of time on just single test case. Now, so if there are 200 test case, which is very normal in large scale automation framework, so that will increase the waiting time to almost 200 seconds. Uh, so that's like very large waiting time. And this will increase our execution time very significantly. And this 2000 seconds are waste just waste. We are sitting idle on the website even though our website has loaded. No. So these were some brief detail about time.sleep, but let's see what are the advantage and disadvantage of using the time.sleep in our in framework. Advantage: it is very easy to use and understand. We just write simple time.sleep and um, we can easily implement it. It is good for beginner, as I already told that it is very simple. And it is useful for quick debugging. Hmm. We will see some other codes, some other ways. In those, it takes some time to implement. So if our issue is not related to time, then we can simply use time.sleep to check the issue. Now these were some of the advantage. Now let's see the disadvantage. So disadvantage. um, First disadvantage I already told, it makes our test slower, and we already noticed that our login page was loaded and still we didn't enter the details. The second was that it did not check whether the web element is loaded or not. Uh, it just keep on simply waiting for 15 seconds. So when we write this line, it just go to the web page and just simply remain idle for 15 seconds. It does not check whether the username or password is loaded or not. No. Third, it can make the test case flaky. So suppose we added the time.sleep as 5 seconds. So the issue here is that if sorry, so maybe if we run first time, our test case pass, but sometime our net is slow and our web page take 10 seconds. Now let's just a minute. Let's see how it can make our. Let's give it and run our. So it passed. Let's try once again. Hmm. Okay. So leave it. We are not able to recreate it, but the logic is that it makes that our test is flatty. Now, and another disadvantage is that it blocks the entire execution. So I already told you that even though the web page is loaded, it will not move ahead and it will keep on waiting until the waiting time is over. And so in real life automation framework, we try to replace the time.sleep wherever it is possible. Um, Now, what are the other alternatives when it comes to wait? The another popular wait is implicit wait. We just configured it once. Now, for example, the driver dot implicitly wait for 10 seconds for 10. Now, now Selenium will automatically wait for elements for up to 10 seconds before throwing an exceptions. Now, now the advantage of implicit wait is that we don't have to write these weights everywhere, and that's what its limitation is, that it is applied globally to every element. um, so even though we don't want, it still applies globally to every element. For every element it checks for 10 seconds if it is loaded or not. So no. sorry sorry. And here comes the third important weight into picture, that is explicit wait. Now, so explicit wait is the most common used wait in automation framework, and the reason is that it let us to define that instead of waiting for 10 seconds, wait for until this particular condition becomes true or false. Now, so coming back to our automation framework, if we apply the explicit time wait, so instead of waiting for 15 seconds, now we can let the Selenium wait for until the username is visible or not, until the password is visible or not, and that save our time, and that's one of the standard practice. Now, we can use the explicit wait for each of the scenario that we're covering, like if the page is loaded or not, if the username is visible or not, it is password is entered or not, or button is clickable or not. And the moment the condition is satisfied, Selenium immediately continues the execution. No. And it does not wait for 15 seconds. So suppose we define just a minute, we will write the exact code. No. So suppose we write our explicitly wait condition with 15 seconds. So if the username is visible within 5 seconds, it will enter the username and it will move ahead. Similarly, for password, if we define it, then it will just wait until it is visible and it will enter the data and move ahead. So that's the benefit of explicit wait. No. So we have discussed time.sleep, implicit wait, explicit wait. Now, before we go ahead, I would say explicit is generally the better choice because it is smarter and more efficient than implicit wait and time.sleep. Now, let's refactor our code and implement explicit wait. Now, so we had used time.sleep, and our main goal was that our username and password is loaded before we enter the name. Now, so first we will import two classes. Now, So here our role is to and instead of waiting for 15 seconds, let's wait until the username and password field is visible. So we will first import two classes, and that is from Selenium dot WebDriver. So from Selenium dot. So we are first waiting. Sorry, first importing WebDriverWait, and then we are going to import from Selenium dot. Now WebDriverWait allows the Selenium to wait, and EC stands for expected condition. It tells the Selenium what to wait for, like wait for username or password, whichever condition we define. Now coming back to the code. Now, so instead of writing time.sleep, let's write the explicit wait condition for it, that WebDriverWait now driver comma 15. We are using the same waiting time like earlier, but we are now writing the explicit wait condition. So now let's understand this line, that what exactly this is doing. Now, so driver means which browser are we waiting on, which is like current browser. So here we have given remove the Chrome. Let's restore Edge also. So wait on the current browser, and then yeah, then we are defining the time, that this is the maximum amount of time Selenium is allowed to wait. Now I am using maximum because if it is not visible after that, then it will throw error. No, it will immediately move to next line, and that's why explicit wait is faster. Now moving to the next part of the syntax, until EC visibility of all elements rotated. Sorry, I am using all elements, not all elements. I have to um, particular elements. So if we use for all elements, then it would check for all elements, but we are right now just focusing on element particular element username. Um, and here we are telling the Selenium to wait for at least 15 seconds before the username becomes visible, and the moment it is visible, the execution continues automatically. Okay. So let's mm, okay, so let's run and see if. Oh, oh, our gets one positional argument but two was driven. Oh, uh, so now we able to log in, but our test case is failing because of exertion. So let's add explicit wait for exertion also. But since our exertion is on URL, so we have to change the condition now, and instead of writing the visibility of element located, we will check if the URL contains any particular test or not. And what should be the test, since this is the we can also use dashboard index whatever we want. Mm. So let's place it. Yeah. So in the above line we are checking if the username is visible or not, and now here we are checking once the login is successful, then the URL contains dashboard or not. Now, it is waiting, it is going to wait for 15 seconds until it locates the dashboard in the current URL. If dashboard is visible, then our test case will pass, else it will fail. Now we can see that we have removed both time.sleep, and instead of blindly waiting for 15 seconds and 5 seconds, our framework now wait intelligently now for 15 seconds that we define here, and then again 15 seconds that we define here. So even as soon as the username was visible, it just enter the data. As soon as the it noticed that dashboard is present in the URL, it just return pass, and the test execution is completed. Now, even if our application was slightly slower, then Selenium would wait for at least 15 seconds before deciding if it has to fail the test or not. So with this, I am wrapping up today's session. In the next session, we will continue on improving our this existing framework, and we will focus on data driven testing and some other interesting concepts. So till then, keep tuning, and thank you for joining this session.